Hey, video number 3 coming your way. First we're going to start with spelling, okay? So you should have this printed out, your spelling worksheet. If you don't have that, go ahead and pause the video, grab it, grab a pencil. You're going to need some other things too. You're going to need this worksheet about cinquains. You're going to need this worksheet about idioms, and you'll need that worksheet about character. Okay, so if you want to stop the video and get all these things together, then I will see you when you get back. Alright, let's start with spelling. This week we're going to concentrate on words that have the er sound. And the er sound is spelled with E-R, I-R, and U-R. We're going to talk about words that are spelled with these letters, okay, that make that er sound. So, I want you to read with me as I go. I'm going to read across the top. And I have some of the words up here. I don't have all of them because I ran out of room. But I'm going to read them, and I want you to read them with me. And as we read them together, I want you to circle the letters that make the er sound. E-R, I-R, or U-R. Okay? And I'll do that on the board too. Okay. I'm going to put that right there. The first word is bird. Bird. And the I-R makes the er sound. Next we have birthday. Again, it's I-R. And then we have burning. U-R. Then we have curly. Also U-R. And the last one in that row is deserve. That's an E-R. Find that E-R in there. D-E-S-E-R-V-E and circle that. Alright, the next word is dirt. Another I-R. Fern. Like the plant that grows in the forest, that's E-R. Fir. This is a fir tree. Okay? And this fur is like animal fur. Okay? So we have fir tree and animal fur. Okay? The tree has the I in it and the animal has the U in it. You have to remember the difference there. Alright? Oh, and what's the last one in that row? Germ. E. Germ is E-R. Okay, then we have her. E-R. Lurked. You know what lurked means? It means like if somebody's lurking behind the corner or lurking under the bed, they're hiding. Okay, that's U-R. Purple is U-R. Sternly. Does your mom and dad ever talk to you sternly? Okay, then that's E-R. The last one on that row is stir, like if you're stirring some cookie dough or a cake mix or something, you stir it up, and that's I-R. Then we have thirsty, I-R. Twirled, another I-R. Unfurl. This is like if you have a tablecloth and it's all folded up and you take the corners of it and you shake it out and you unfurl it. Or maybe the flag, the first time it's raised, the wind blows it and it unfurls, like it unwraps or it unfolds. That's U-R. Verb, you all know what a verb is, that's E-R. And the last one on that list is water, that's also E-R. Okay, so these are your words for this week. I want you to do what you normally do. Fill in the blanks, or fill in the boxes with the words that have the correct sound, correct letters. And remember, you don't have to do the part at the bottom. Okay? So that's it for spelling. Now we're going to go to our poetry corner, if you will. And remember that poetry doesn't always have to rhyme. It can rhyme, and it's fun when poetry rhymes. It's almost like a song, and it's fun to read out loud. But some poetry doesn't rhyme, and today we're going to talk about a kind of poetry that doesn't usually rhyme. It's called cinquain. And I know this word looks like cinquain because it has the QU in there, but you do not pronounce it that way. You pronounce it cinquain. Okay? This part of the word here is a French word that means you pronounce this C-I-N-Q, you pronounce it cinq, and it means 5 in French. Okay? So that's one of the rules of cinquain. It has 5 lines. Okay, and it only has 5 lines. So you don't have to write a lot when you write a cinquain. The rules of cinquain are that they have 5 lines. The first line is a noun. It's a thing or a person. And I'm gonna give you some examples of a cinquain in a minute. The first line is a noun, and it has 2 syllables. What is a syllable? A syllable is a sound in a word, okay? For instance, cinquain has 2 syllables, sin and cane, okay? Syllables has 3 syllables, syllables, okay? So, the first line is a noun and it has 2 syllables. The second line is adjective, describing word, more than one because it's going to have 4 syllables. The third line is verbs or action words. And this line has, what do you think? Follow the pattern. 2, 4, what comes next? 6 syllables. Yep. And the fourth line is a description of feeling or sense words like touch, feel, something you might see, something you might feel, something you might hear. Okay, so I'm going to put sensory words. Or feeling. Okay, and guess how many syllables that's going to have? Yeah, it's going to have 8 syllables. And the last line is a synonym of the first line. And remember, a synonym is a word that means nearly the same thing as another word. And this doesn't follow the pattern. This goes back to 2 syllables. Okay, so it goes 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. Say that with me. 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. That's what cinquains have. So remember that pattern because you're going to be writing a cinquain. But first of all, we're going to write an example, a couple of examples. 5 lines, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. All right, here is an example of a cinquain. I don't know how well you can see that, so I'm going to read it to you. It's my mom. Helpful, caring, grows things in her garden, always talking to our neighbors. Mama. Okay, notice how mama is a synonym or something that means nearly the same as my mom, right? Okay, or you could say mommy, mommy. So let's tear this down here. Okay, my mom has how many syllables? My mom, 2. Helpful, caring, 4 syllables there. Grows things in her garden, 6 syllables on the third line. Always talking to our neighbors, that's 8 syllables. Always talking to our neighbors, and mama, 2 syllables. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. You see how that pattern works? All right, here's a different one. This one is about my dog. Not my dog in particular, but anyone's dog. Okay, so we start with my dog, 2 syllables. Loyal, friendly, 4 syllables. Loving, playing, guarding. Loving, playing, guarding, 6 syllables. We have so much fun together. All right, let's count it. We have so much fun together, 8 syllables. And last is maybe the dog's name, Bruno. My dog's name is Bella. I should have put Bella. Okay, so we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. Those are some examples of syncanes. Now, as you've noticed, syncanes don't rhyme, or they don't have to rhyme. If you want to write your syncane to rhyme, you can, and that's great. That's perfectly fine. But it doesn't have to rhyme, okay? The main thing about syncanes is the noun, the adjectives, the verbs, the action words, and then feeling or sensory words, and then repeating a synonym of the title, okay? All right, so just those 3 simple rules. So when you write your syncane, what I want you to do is think of something that you like, that you really like. If you think of something that you really like, it will be easier to write. On the other hand, you could think of something that you really hate, and that might be easy to write too, because you really know how you feel about that, and you know about the things you hate and the things you love. So pick something that you would like to write about, and then brainstorm. You know what brainstorm means? It means think, get all these ideas out of your brain and write it on a piece of paper. Let's say we wanted to write a syncane about ice cream. Who loves ice cream? Yeah, all right. Let's brainstorm about ice cream. You could say it's sweet. You could say it's cold. You could say it's a treat. Those are rhyming words. They are sweet and treat. You could say, what else can you say about ice cream? It's yummy. You could say it's delicious. Okay, so this is brainstorming. Just thinking about as many things as you can about your subject, in this case, ice cream. So here's a syncane about ice cream. Ready? Our title will be ice cream. Now on the other 2 syncanes, I didn't have a title. But you can have a title if you want. And then the first line is going to be ice cream, surprise. 2 syllables, ice cream. Cold and yummy. Cold and yummy. So we have 2 syllables here, and this is a noun, ice cream, right? We have cold and yummy, 4 syllables there, and these are adjectives, right, describing ice cream. And then our next line is going to be, you could say, I love its sweet richness, or goodness, or whatever you'd like to say. Let's count. I love its sweet richness. That's 6 syllables. Okay, and that was your verb or action word about loving it. As it finds its way into my, let's see if we can fit all this. As it finds its way into my, and the last word is going to be tummy. Now let's read this all together. Ice cream, cold and yummy. I love its sweet richness as it finds its way into my tummy. Now this one has a rhyme, yummy and tummy, right? Okay, and notice that the verb is really on line 4, and the sensory or feeling line is really on line 3. I love it. Oh, I just love it. That's the feeling. Okay, so you want to have a feeling, and then you want to have a verb. This is the ice cream going down into its stomach. That's an action. So if you need to switch the verb and the feeling lines, that's fine. Okay? 2, 4, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and tummy has 2 syllables. You see how that works? Let's try another one. Let's say you want to write about your messy room. And maybe your parents are always asking you to clean up your room. Why don't you clean up your room? Please clean up your room. Okay. Brainstorm. Think about as many things as you can think about. Okay, there's dirty laundry on the floor. Toys all over the place. Mom tells me to clean it up all the time. The hamper is overflowing. I'd rather watch TV. I'd rather play video games than clean my room. And besides that, I don't mind the mess. It doesn't bother me. Okay? Maybe those are some ideas about my messy room. Let's write a sing cane about my messy room. My messy room. Okay. Now the first line has to be 2 syllables, remember? So we can start with my room. My room, 2 syllables, right? And room is a noun. Okay. Is such a mess. Such a mess. How many syllables are there? Is such a mess. 4. Okay? And this is describing it, right? Mess is an adjective. Okay? Toys all over the place. You can be counting the syllables while I'm writing. Toys all over the place. Okay, is that 6? Yep. Okay, here's the 8 syllable line. Mom says clean up, but Mom says, comma, quote, clean up. But I like it. I'm running out of room. But I like it like this. Okay, so sing canes also, if you haven't noticed, they kind of tell a story or they kind of explain something. So this is more of a story. My room is such a mess. Toys all over the place. Mom says clean up, but I like it like this. Okay? So, and this one has Mom says clean up, but I like it. That's 8. And then like this is 2 syllables, like this. Okay? And here you have the adjectives. You have the action of cleaning up, of toys being all over the place, but I like it. That's the feeling part of it. Okay, so we have the noun, the adjective, the feeling, the action words, and then we repeat it. My room is like this. It's kind of a synonym, not exactly. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but those are kind of some guidelines to help you follow and write a sing cane. All right, what else do we want to say about sing canes? I'm going to give you a worksheet, or you should have printed one out actually, that looks something like Well, you should have one printed out. And you're going to actually write your own Cinquain, okay? Alrighty. So that is your homework for writing. Okay? So you can write your Cinquain about anything you want. It just has to have how many lines? 5 lines. And it has to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. The syllable counts in each line. And you have to have the noun and the adjectives, the verb, the action, the feeling, and then you repeat at the very beginning. Okay? Here's the worksheet that you have. And here's another example about ice cream that you can read, and it tells you what your syllables and all that on each line is supposed to be. Okay? Alrighty. Let's talk about reading. Let's talk about Winn-Dixie. Okay? Are y'all enjoying the book? I hope so. It's kind of a fun book, kind of a serious book, kind of funny and serious at the same time. Alright, let's go over some questions. And I'm going to start with this one. How does Winn-Dixie react to this thunderstorm? Do you remember in the chapter where it describes a thunderstorm and what Winn-Dixie did? She bolted across the trailer and knocked over the preacher, and she just kept running back and forth and just was crazy because of the thunder and the lightning. Maybe you have a pet that's like that. I know that's a pretty common thing for pets to be afraid of thunder and loud noises like fireworks and things like that. Okay. How does the preacher respond when Winn-Dixie goes crazy and knocks him over and all that? Do you remember what he did? He said that we need to keep him safe. Remember, he said he didn't get mad at the dog for knocking him over and making a mess, but he said, he put his arm around him and said, we need to keep him safe, so if there's ever a thunderstorm, you have to make sure you hold on to him and don't let him run, because he might run away and not come back if he gets crazy and afraid. So I think that made Opal really appreciate and love her dad even more, because he is starting to love Winn-Dixie just like she does. Alright, what happens to the animals in Gertrude's pet store when Otis plays his guitar? You remember that scene? Yeah, he lets them all out of their cage, and they're all just kind of crawling around on the floor and having a good time, because they don't get to get out much, do they? He stops playing, and all the animals start scurrying around, and they don't know what to do because they're kind of mesmerized by the music, and they're just relaxed and enjoying it. And then he stops playing, and they're like, oh no, what do we do? Because they're out of their cages. So Opal thinks it's some sort of magic. Okay, and what 2 important things does Opal learn about Otis in chapter 12? It was kind of surprising. He was like, he had been in jail, right? Yeah. Is she afraid that her father's going to not like that she's working in a place with a man that has been in jail before? Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Okay. In chapter 14, Opal walks back to the back of Gloria Dump's yard. Do you remember Gloria Dump, the new lady that she meets, because Winn-Dixie jumps in her yard and Opal has to go chase her, and so she meets Gloria Dump. And what does Gloria show her in her backyard? Do you remember that big tree in the backyard, and it has all the bottles hanging from it, all the empty bottles? She called it her bottle tree, right? And those are like alcohol and wine bottles, and she put them there to help remind her of her past and not to go back to that past again. They represent all the bad things that she's done, and she doesn't want to remember them anymore. Maybe she had a drinking problem like Opal's mom, so that kind of, Opal can understand that a little bit. And she wonders maybe if her mama has a bottle tree in her backyard. Okay. Now let's do a little bit of specific reading. I'm going to read to you in chapter 15, beginning, if you want to turn in your books to me, if you have your book with you, chapter 15. Beginning with the words, the Herman W. Block Library's air conditioning unit. Okay, it's at the very beginning of the chapter, right here. And I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs and then I'll ask you some questions. We're going to read all the way to, do you have any suggestions? Okay, so I'll stop at that point. The Herman W. Block Memorial Library's air conditioning unit didn't work very good, and there was only one fan. And from the minute me and Winn-Dixie got in the library, he hogged it all. He lay right in front of it and wagged his tail and let it blow his fur all around. Some of his fur was pretty loose, and it blew right off him like a dandelion puff. Hey, that's a simile, like a dandelion puff. I worried about him hogging the fan, and I worried about the fan blowing him bald. But Miss Franny said not to worry about either thing, that Winn-Dixie could hog the fan if he wanted to, and she had never in her life seen a dog made bald by a fan. Sometimes when Miss Franny was telling a story, she would have a fit. They were small fits, and they didn't last long. But what happened was she would forget what she was saying. She would just stop and start to shake a little, like a leaf. And when that happened, Winn-Dixie would get up from the fan and sit right at Miss Fanny Block's side. He would sit up tall, protecting her with his ears standing straight up on his head like soldiers. And when Miss Franny stopped shaking and started talking again, Winn-Dixie would lick her hand and lie back down in front of the fan. Whenever Miss Franny had one of her fits, it reminded me of Winn-Dixie in the thunderstorm. There were a lot of thunderstorms that summer, and we got real good at holding on to Winn-Dixie whenever they came. I held on to him and comforted him and whispered to him and rocked him, just the same way he tried to comfort Miss Franny when she has her fits. Only I held on to Winn-Dixie for another reason, too. I held on to him tight so he wouldn't run away. It all made me think about Gloria Dump. I wondered who comforted her when she heard those bottles knocking together, those ghosts chattering about the things she had done wrong. I wanted to comfort Gloria Dump, and I decided that the best way to do that would be to read her a book, read it to her loud enough to keep the ghosts away. And so I asked Miss Franny. I said, Miss Franny, I've got a grown-up friend whose eyes are going on her, and I would like to read her a book out loud. Do you have any suggestions? All right. So from that part of chapter 15, what are the things that worry Opal about Winn-Dixie and the fan? Two things. He was hogging it, yeah, and he didn't want his fur to blow off. He was afraid that all his fur would blow off. What details illustrate how Winn-Dixie supports Miss Franny Block when she gets the shakes? What did Winn-Dixie do to her? Or for her? He would get up and go sit by her side, and I'll be all perked up and attentive to her. And then when she was finished with her fit or her shakes, he would lick her hand and then go back and sit down. And that was the way he tried to comfort Miss Franny Block. What, according to the text, does Opal think that she can do to keep the ghosts away from Gloria Dump? What does she want to do to help her? She wants to check out a book from the library that she can read out loud to Gloria Dump to help her get over her problems. So she asked the librarian, hey, what's a good book for me to read to my friend? And so Miss Franny gives her a suggestion, and then she'll do that. All right. Let's talk about something. Have y'all ever heard of the word idiom before? Not idiot, idiom. I-D-I-O-M. Gloria Dump thinks that Opal might have inherited her mother's green thumb. She said, the saying, having a green thumb, is an idiom. Have you ever heard that idiom before? If someone says, she has a green thumb, or I think they have a green thumb. Do you know what it means? Having a green thumb is being good at gardening or being good at growing things. Okay, and I know because I have a garden, and a lot of times if I'm out working in my garden and I'm pruning my tomatoes and taking care of a lot of plants, I have gotten green plant juice on my thumb, and it's hard to wash off at first. So that's kind of what it is. That maybe that's where it came from. But anyway, get this printout that I sent to you. It says Language Learning Idioms at the top. If you don't have it, you can pause the video, go get it. But we're going to talk about these idioms on here. An idiom is a phrase or an expression that has a hidden meaning. So if you didn't know about green thumb related to being a gardener, you would like, green thumb, what are you talking about? What does that mean? But it has a hidden meaning. It's about being a gardener. Idioms doesn't mean that someone actually has a thumb that's colored green. Okay? So here is a list of some idioms. Look at them with me as I go along. One is, cat has your tongue. You ever heard somebody say, cat got your tongue? It means, don't you know what to say? Or you don't know what to say? You're at a loss for words. You're like, I don't know. That's cat got your tongue. Have you ever heard someone say a piece of cake? Ah, it's a piece of cake. Yeah, that's a little easier. That's probably more used. It means it's easy, simple, something very easy. Now, you might have heard this. It's raining cats and dogs. Of course, there aren't really dogs and cats falling from the sky, but that just means it's raining really hard. If you ever hear somebody say, I'm in the doghouse, that means I'm in trouble. I did something wrong and somebody's mad at me. It means I'm in the doghouse. Has your parents ever said, do you have ants in your pants? That's funny. But hopefully you don't ever get ants in your pants, but that would be pretty uncomfortable. But it's like when somebody's just anxious and they're walking all over and they just can't sit still and they're moving around all the time. And just, that's an idiom for being very moving around a lot and not being able to sit still. Pull someone's leg. Don't pull my leg means don't try to fool me. Okay? It could mean playing a joke on somebody, but you're not actually physically taking someone's leg and pulling on it. It means you're trying to joke them. You ever heard somebody say, bring home the bacon? Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to the grocery store to get a pound of bacon. It means they're making money and earning money to bring home so they can buy bacon or whatever else they want to buy. But bringing home the bacon is earning money at your job. And hit the hay, of course, means nighty-night. You hit the hay, it's like you're hitting your pillow, you're going to bed. All right, so those are idioms. So what you're going to do as part of your homework is on another sheet of paper, you're going to pick one of these idioms. Maybe pick your favorite, or the one you think is funniest or the most interesting. And on another sheet of paper, draw what the idiom sounds like it means. Like say if there was a green thumb on here. You could draw a picture of somebody's thumb and color it green. Okay? And then next to that, draw a picture of what the idiom really means. You would say, you would maybe draw a picture of somebody in a garden. Okay? So your homework is to choose an idiom, choose one of these idioms, write it on the top of your paper, and then on this side, draw a picture of what the idiom sounds like it means, and on this page, draw a picture of what it really does mean. Okay? Those are idioms. All right. And this is the last sheet you should have printed out. It says at the top, story elements character on the top. And this is a page where you can write another cinquain. So you're going to be writing two cinquains. One on the sheet that I showed you a moment ago with the ice cream cone on it. And then you're going to have another one. But this cinquain is going to be about a character in Winn-Dixie. All right? So pick a character Like, who are some of the characters in Winn-Dixie? We have Opal. We have the preacher. We have Winn-Dixie, of course. He's a dog, but he's still a character. We have Otis, who works in the pet shop. We have Miss Franny Block, the librarian lady. And we have Gloria Dump. Okay, there are a couple other characters like Sweetie Pie and the two brothers that are always giving her a hard time. But pick a character that you like in the book and write a cinquain about that character. So the name of the character would go in the first line. 2 words describing the character, 2 adjectives that describe the character would go in the second line. The third line would be words, this says words describing a setting where the character is. So like if you did the preacher, you might, I couldn't hear you tell me that I spelled preacher wrong, sorry. You might write something about him preaching in the church when Winn-Dixie was catching the mouse. Or you could write about him being knocked over by Winn-Dixie in a storm. The fourth line is words describing something that happened in the character's life, something that you read about the character. And then on the last line, you can either repeat the name of the character or write a synonym that's something like the character's name. You don't have to write a synonym. If you can't think of one, you can just repeat the person's name down here at the bottom. And try to keep your syllables 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, if you can. You may have to work it out a little bit and try to change your words around here or there to get something to fit. But try to make them fit as best you can. Okay, so that's all I have for you. Your homework is going to be your spelling sheet, writing the cinquain, then your idiom picture, and your other character cinquain. Okay, I think that's it. And you're going to be reading chapters 21 to 26 in Winn-Dixie. What about because of Winn-Dixie? Okay? And we'll talk about those chapters next time we meet on the next video. All right? Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.